So one of the questions I get asked the most is actually not a memoir writing question. The question I get asked is this: Wendy, why do you live in the country of Peru? So today I've created a video to help answer this burning question. I have spent almost half of my life in South America, and this all began when I was 4 years old, and my father took us to the southern tip of Peru to work in a copper mine. My father is a mining engineer. So my first memories really are of living in Peru, and by the time we returned to the United States when I was 8 years old, I was kind of a weird kid because I had never had a Big Mac, I'd never tried a Snickers bar, and I was obsessed with vending machines. It was so unfathomable to me that there was this machine and you put quarters in and you got soda out of. It was amazing. So when I was in my 20s, my parents moved back to Latin America. First they moved to Honduras and then they moved to Bolivia. And I spent a lot of time visiting them, and I really loved the time I spent in Bolivia until I eventually moved there myself. Part of the reason I moved there, honestly, was that I had a free place to stay. There's this friend of mine who has a house in Bolivia. He's also friends with my parents, and he would constantly, I would see him in the United States, I would see him in California, and he would say, I have that empty house in Bolivia. And I guess that was always in the back of my mind. And one day I decided I was going to go fill that empty house. So let's fast forward a little bit. So I lived in Bolivia for 14 years. I had wonderful adventures there, great experiences, met my husband there. And now we're in the year 2019. And something changed. So it started with the presidential elections, and a lot of people accused the president of fraudulently winning the elections, whereas other people staunchly supported him. So the country really got divided into two different groups. And these two different groups were really at war with one another. There was protesting in the street, there was tear gas, there was violence, they attacked one another, there were deaths. It wasn't a good time to be in Bolivia. Now, my husband and I were in a little town on the shores of Lake Titicaca. So we didn't have as much violence there, but we had another problem. So all of the highways in the country were blocked off by protesters, so no cars could go in and out of town. And the town was slowly running out of food. So we were basically under siege. And little by little, the stores would close down. And I was having fewer options to buy groceries. And so anytime I would find food, I would just hoard it. I would buy kilos and kilos of rice. And then the ATM machines shut down. I went to my ATM and it was covered up with this metal door, and every other ATM in town was shut down as well. So I had no way to get cash. And my husband and I don't keep a lot of cash around the house. Who does? So we didn't know what to do. So one of the things that occurred to us was that maybe we should go to the United States. But my husband at this point didn't have a tourist visa, and the only way to get one was to go to La Paz, and the roads were blocked off. So there's no way we can get to the US Embassy in La Paz. The stores are running out of food, and now we have no access to cash. One thing did occur to me. Peru, the Peruvian border, was only 6 miles away. Now, there was a problem because the road to Peru was completely blocked off by thousands of protesters. There was no way you were going to get to go along this road. But I thought if we could go through the mountains, take the back route, we would be able to sneak into Peru, which is exactly what we did. A friend of mine said to me, this sounds like the sound of music. And I was like, yeah, we did a lot less singing. So this is us starting out our journey. This is us with our neighbor, Jeff, who actually got us a guide that would take us halfway there. We had to do the rest of the trip on our own, but the guide got us on the right footpath. So I still remember the moment that we crossed the Peruvian border.
Estamos según el GPS, estamos parados en una senda que parece ser el límite internacional.
And it was such a moment of joy. We had walked at this point probably about 15 miles through the mountains, and it just felt safe. Helder's gonna cross from Bolivia to Peru right now. Dale. Okay, now he's in Bolivia. A ver, no, wait, now he's in Peru. Come back to Bolivia, come back to Bolivia. Okay, now he's in Bolivia. Okay, go back to Peru. Andate a Peru.
Ciao.
So Peru has always had that feeling of safety for me, and it was the place where I actually spent the happiest moments of my childhood. So as Bolivia was falling apart, it occurred to me that maybe we should actually move to Peru. And then, which brought up the question, what are we going to do in Peru? Well, in Bolivia, we had an Airbnb. My husband and I built this little adobe cabin that was really charming, and we rented it out to travelers. And I really enjoyed meeting travelers, and I liked doing this. And so I thought, well, how about a hotel? That would be the next logical step for us. So I started researching hotels in Cusco. So I started searching online, and I found a hotel for rent, which sounded so perfect for us. And here's the weird thing. It was the very same hotel where my husband and I had spent our honeymoon 5 years earlier. So it just felt like this was destiny. It felt like this was meant to be. We moved to Cusco. We remodeled this hotel. We opened this hotel. And 3 weeks later, the pandemic hit. So that's more or less where my story ends, at least for today. COVID hit and we lost the hotel. We had 24 hours to find a new place to live. And we've been in this little apartment ever since. COVID hit and my life became pretty much like anyone else's. Lots of staying indoors, lots of mask wearing. So Peru does have the highest death rate in the world, so we're very careful. I hope you enjoyed today's story time. I'm wishing you good health and happy writing. Stay safe, guys.